I'll go ahead and start, and then I'll start a popcorn.
Super.
So I'm Tisha King Hayden. I'm at the University of Wisconsin La Crosse, and the research that I do is primarily focusing on various emerging contaminants. So just starting some research in fish with PFAS. And I will just go ahead and popcorn to AJ to get us started.
Hi, everyone. My name is AJ. I'm the Emerging Contaminants Outreach Specialist at NRI, which is part of UW Madison's Division of Extension, if you're not familiar. So I am primarily focused on outreach and emerging contaminants. And I will popcorn to Yin.
Oh, hello everyone. I'm Yin Wang. I'm an associate professor at UW Milwaukee with expertise in environmental engineering. So my research focus is on the environmental fate, transport of PFAS, and also PFAS treatment. Yeah, thank you.
Christopher, do you want to go next?
I sure do. Hello, everybody. I am Christopher Churchill. I am acting center director at the USGS Environmental Sciences Center in La Crosse, Wisconsin. And in the center, we have several researchers studying PFAS, the effects, fate, and transport, and also bioaccumulation, biomagnification. There are others from the center online, so I guess we'll just kind of do all of ours next. I got John Amberg, and then Randy Hines, and there might be other people in the room. If there are, please let them introduce as well. So John.
I'm John Amberg. I am a branch manager, a branch chief for the Aquatic Ecosystems Health Branch at UMass, working with Christopher Churchill. And the group that I lead, they do a lot of contaminant work and control work for aquatic species. And within my lab, we run a really large aquaculture center. So a lot of the water that we work with is has PFAS. So I'll turn it over to Randy.
This is Randy Hines. I'm a wildlife biologist with the USGS Science Center in La Crosse. I'm also the outreach and partnership coordinator. And in the room with me also is Dr. Teresa Newton, and she's a toxicologist and aquatic biologist.
Okay, I've got you up now on my other computer. Can you?
Welcome. Yeah. We're doing introductions currently.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, then, yep, I'm all set. I had to go to a different computer.
All right, awesome. We're just doing popcorn introductions right now. If that was everyone from, is that UMass? We'll move on. Kevin Mazarek, would you like to go next?
Sure, Kevin Masarek. I'm a groundwater specialist with Extension in UW Stevens Point. Our center does a lot of work with private well owners. We worked with DNR on a large well sampling project last year, studying occurrence in shallow groundwater. I'll popcorn over to Syed.
Oh yeah, thank you. This is Syed. I'm from Paper Science and Chemical Engineering Department of UW. Currently, you are working on with collaboration with UW Madison. You are working on development of biomass-based carbon materials for PFAS absorption, and I'm also interested in simulation and optimization of PFAS removal. And then last week we were able to just set up this small simulation and optimization lab. We purchased two software, and then we are ready to go to work on simulation and optimization of PFAS removal. So I will pass it to Steve. I'm not sure if Steve. Steve or Mike, one of you. Mike Zorn.
Sure. My name is Mike Zorn. I'm a faculty member here at UW Green Bay. I'm an analytical environmental chemist and have a general interest in fate and transport of environmental contaminants. And I'm also an associate dean here. And I know there's several faculty who do work with directly with PFAS. So I'll go to Pat Gorski.
Hi, Mike. Haven't seen you in a while. Yeah, Patrick Gorski, Wisconsin DNR. I'm in the Bureau of Water Quality. So in the monitoring section of water quality, so that would be surface water like lakes, streams, rivers. I'm in charge of monitoring PFAS and surface water across the state. And then also I'm a research scientist, so I'm broadly interested in fate and transport of PFAS in aquatic environments, and especially bioaccumulation and bioavailability. Who should I pass it off to? I saw, hey, Steve Elmore. How about you?
Thanks, Pat. Steve Elmore. I work for Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources. I'm the director of the Drinking Water and Groundwater Program, and we have a lot of PFAS activities. Already mentioned here, we did recently a statewide private well sampling of PFAS. 450 wells were sampled statewide. We also implement the state maximum contaminant level for PFAS, and so all public water systems were sampled last year for PFAS. We're awaiting the federal MCL maximum contaminant level for PFAS in the next month that we'll be implementing out of our program as part of the Safe Drinking Water Act implementation. We do fund some research through the groundwater joint solicitation process, and some of those projects are PFAS related currently. I don't know, we're also responding to some contaminated areas, primarily in the town of Peshtigo, town of Campbell on French Island, and town of Stella up near Rhinelander. I'll stop there. And I'll see who hasn't gone here. I'll pass it to Sarah Yang at the health department.
Yeah, I'm Sarah Yang. I'm the groundwater program manager and toxicologist at the Wisconsin Department of Health Services. I help lead the initiatives to develop recommended groundwater standards and health advisories for PFAS and other contaminants in Wisconsin's drinking water and groundwater supplies, and help our site evaluation program evaluate the different contamination sites of PFAS around the state. I forgot to popcorn. Is there anyone who hasn't gone? Rebecca, did you go?
Yeah, no, I haven't. Sorry, I was a couple minutes late dealing with a faculty issue. I'm Rebecca Clapper. I'm at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. I'm the dean of the School of Freshwater Sciences here at UWM. I've done a couple of PFAS projects in conjunction with our NSF WEP program here. I had a student that was actually she went to work for the DNR afterwards, looking at the different versions of PFAS. Branched versus linear, and looking to see where data indicated there were greater or lesser dangers for those particular compounds and where they went, and how it, the structure determined where they went. She looked at did some biosolids research and some municipal burning of biosolids kind of research and the fate of PFAS and those things. So and we also did a preliminary study looking at could you determine where you might predict PFAS to be based on emissions from wastewater permits. Right now, I don't have a student actively pursuing this area, but our interests in my lab are mainly dealing with effects of emerging contaminants. And since I joined late, I'm sorry, I don't know who hasn't gone yet. Maybe Marissa, you could help me out.
Right on. So I don't even Yeah, AJ, who has gone and who hasn't gone. And what I wanted to chime in, so for those of you who joined late, I probably sent you a personal message saying if you could just change your name, rename yourself to be your name and then your organization so that we all are on the same page. So it looks like a couple of you still haven't, but thanks so much. We appreciate it. Okay, AJ, take it away.
George, have you gone yet?
You mean me, George Lee?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see how I turn my video on. I don't know. Looks like it does not allow me to turn the video on.
You can just introduce without video then. That's okay.
Okay, so my name is Zhao Hui Li. I go by George. I'm from UW Parkside. In the past, I had a collaborator in Taiwan. We did a little bit of research for the PFAS removal using one type of earth material that was hydrotalcite and after heat treatment. And then this year, I'm collaborating with Sangping Xu and Yin Wang and Laura Allen, doing a 2-year project funded by Freshwater Collaborative of Wisconsin for the removal of dyes and PFAS using earth materials. Mainly, we are focusing on carbonated minerals such as dolostone, dolomite, and limestone, calcite, etc. So we do have budgeted for at least 3 or 4 undergraduate students for participation of this type of research.
Awesome, thank you. Let's see who's next on my list. Lao Dong, have you gone?
Yes, sorry, I'm late. My name is Lao Dong Guo. I'm a faculty here in the School of Freshwater Sciences at UWM. And I have a co-PI project with Ina at Medicine. And we were doing the reconstruct of pollution history in Milwaukee Harbor. And I'm also interested in understanding the interaction of natural organic material with PFAS and how that affect the partitioning and the transport in the aquatic environment. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm Marty Oakes. I'm the executive director of the Green Bay Innovation Group. We represent over quarter million people employed in Wisconsin in the printing, paper, packaging, converting industry. We lead the nation in generating probably PFAS, flexible packaging, corrugated paper, printing, whatever. So our interest here is to come up with solutions for PFAS. We have some good events coming up that you may be interested in. You can go to greenbayinnovationgroup.com. You can sign up for our newsletter. We do a bi-weekly publication with about 70, 80 articles about the industry. So we're broad range. Our goal here is to try to help solve or reduce PFAS into our packaging products.
Thanks, Marty.
Well, by the way, go Pointers. I like to see some Pointers and Madison folks in there. So I went to both schools. So
nice. Let's see. Next on my list is Ina.
Yeah, I can go next. So my name is Ina Popova. I'm an assistant professor at the soil science here at University of Wisconsin-Madison. As Leodang was saying, we have a joint project on looking at PFAS in the water system. And in addition to that, I'm a part of the group that looks at the non-targeted analysis for PFAS. So basically, we are trying to look for something that we don't know exists there, and try to figure out how we can pretty much try to see other compounds that maybe we don't have standards for them yet. That's it.
Thank you. I've got Sarah next. Sarah Walling.
Afternoon, everybody. I'm Sarah Walling. I am I'm with Clean Wisconsin. So Clean Wisconsin is the state's largest environmental organization. And at Clean, I oversee the water and agriculture program area. And so my job here, my background is in water resource sciences, but my job here, of course, is to translate all of the work and research that you are all doing and the information we're gleaning about PFAS in the state and translating that into outreach and policy materials to develop policy solutions to address the problem, find dollars to come into the state to support the work you guys are doing and cleanup efforts and those kinds of things. So that's my role in this collaborative.
Thanks, Sarah. Sean, you're next on my list. Have you gone?
No, I have not. My name is Sean Strom. I'm a fish and wildlife toxicologist with Wisconsin DNR. I first started looking at PFAS in bald eagles and waterfowl back in about 2007 and started doing so on a much more regular basis at about 2011. And about 5 or 6 years ago, I had fish added to my plate. So now I spend a fair amount of time looking at PFAS levels in fish and formulating consumption advisories, but also still spend some time looking at PFAS levels in bald eagles and waterfowl and whatever other critters that need monitoring.
I've got Sean Ping next. Have you gone yet?
My name is Sean Ping. I'm from UW Milwaukee, and my research deals with transport remediation of PFAS, and also we try to develop technologies that can remove PFAS from drinking water. I work with a few people here, my colleagues Yin Wang and George Lee, as they mentioned, and also Pat from DNR. So we have been supported, fortunately, by DNR in the past too for the PFAS research. Thank you.
Awesome. I've got Kristen next. Have you gone, Kristen?
Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay, good. I was having issues with my microphone earlier. Hi, I'm from the Wisconsin State Lab of Hygiene. I am the team lead for our PFAS group. We work really closely with the DNR, and we've also done bigger projects for the USGS and a few folks at UW and beyond. So that is our group in a nutshell. We do everything from fish tissue to organic material, aqueous groundwater, and surface water, as well as drinking water.
Thank you. I've got Dagmara next.
Hopefully my camera works. Good morning, everyone. My name is Dagmara Antkiewicz. I'm a scientist here at the Wisconsin State Lab of Hygiene. I don't currently work directly with PFAS. I know many of you from other projects and different toxicology interests and walks of life. I'm here mostly to support the project with Tisha King-Hayden and her students.
Thank you. I think that is everyone except Heidi. I think I skipped you. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. I'm Heidi Jeter. I'm the marketing person for Freshwater Collaborative, so I'll be behind the scenes trying to take notes.
All right. Was there anyone who didn't get an introduction?
Just me. All right. Okay. Thank you, everyone. And thanks, AJ, for leading this. So the Freshwater Collaborative is pulling together collaboration groups around issues that have come out as hot topics in the state of Wisconsin, and PFAS is one of them. So we held a Fresh 2.0 partnership event this past September in Madison that some of you, if not most of you, attended. And you're welcome to come. It's an annual event, so we'll have one next September as well, and we hope that you can attend. And one of the things that came out of the PFAS conversation there was hosting these kinds of meetings. So we've pulled this meeting together with AJ and Tisha as the co-leads, and what we're hoping to do is get something out of it. So we would like to introduce and AJ is going to lead us into looking at the research agenda for PFAS in Wisconsin that came out of the 2021 PFAS workshop, which was hosted by Sea Grant. And then we would love to open discussion. So everything's going to be short because we probably should have put 90 minutes on this meeting, but we really wanted people to come, so we made it 60 minutes. But what we want to talk about today is what work is happening, what's been started, what have we done, what's been completed and implemented, what's still relevant, what isn't relevant, and have any priorities come out of that work. So where are the gaps? What's needed? What should we focus on in 2024? And then the Freshwater Collaborative is writing a federal appropriation request for PFAS funding. It'll be up to $1 million, 1-year funding only, to Senator Tammy Baldwin. And we would love your feedback, or we can take what comes out in this conversation as what would benefit the state of Wisconsin, and $1 million appropriation towards PFAS at the university level. And we recognize that not all stakeholders are at the university. Obviously, hopefully we hit on a lot of stakeholder groups in this meeting. So that's where we're going, and this is where we are. So please know that because of our short time, we appreciate, feel free to use the chat, and take it away, AJ.
All right. Yeah. Thank you all so much for joining. Real quick, as we're getting started, if you have anything that you would like to get out of participating in this collaboration group, if you could pop that in the chat, you can send it to me or Heidi, or just send it to everyone, depending on your comfort level. That would be awesome. Really appreciate that. And then hopefully everyone got a chance to read the research agenda for PFAS in Wisconsin that UWC grant put out. What I'm going to do is they broke that report down into 4 main sections: environmental contamination, exposure pathways, wastes, biosolids, and remediation, and toxicology and epidemiology. I'm going to go through each of those sections, and if you are aware of research that's happening, or if you are if you have a comment on is it still relevant? Is there priorities that haven't been addressed in this report that we haven't gotten to yet? Feel free to come in and make that comment. I'm going to try to keep it short just because introductions took a little bit longer than we planned. So yeah, I'm going to get started with that. So, oh, and Heidi did put the link to the report in the chat if you did get a chance to look at it earlier. Starting with environmental contamination. Is anyone aware of work that's currently happening, or stuff that hasn't been implemented yet that still needs to be? Is it still relevant? Stuff like that. Please discuss.
So I just have a question related to environmental work that's being done right now in terms of measuring things. So we have that great interactive website from the DNR that has 2 PFASs on there. And I'm just curious if that is possible to expand that for any other types of PFAS we might have in Wisconsin, or if that's being done right now.
So, are you referring to what we call the external PFAS viewer, where there's surface water, municipal water, fish advisories?
Yes, that
yada, yada.
active app that.
And then you can drill down, and there's the pop-up, and it just says PFOA and PFAS.
Yes.
Yeah, I can speak to that because I'm in charge of basically of the surface water, all the surface water diamonds. So at the DNR, we've analyzed all those samples. I'm pretty sure drinking water as well. Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, but for the Wisconsin 33. So for almost all those, there's 33 compounds. That little pop-up, I mean, it just got too complicated and too onerous to just, put everything on there. So that's available. Right now, I've taken the approach where there's some areas in that pop-up that it'll say PDF link. And if you click the PDF link, some of those areas have the full 33. And I haven't done that for every area. I have all that data. If, let's say, if there's a certain sample or certain area you want, I could get you all the data. I have it. It just got too big to deal with. So like for example, one area recently, because it's more of a hot topic around the Stella Starks Rylander area. If you click on any of those surface water dots, the PDF will pop up and it has all 33 compounds. It's just difficult to know what people want. There's some other areas, let's say on the Wisconsin River, I haven't done that. I've been breaking it out by sections. You know, just when you do something like that, then somebody asks for something else. Like, actually, I have to respond to the EPA. They're like, well, we want the lat long coordinates of that. So, okay. I mean, if you happen to be, all that's public information, willing to share, you know, it's not a secret. So if you want a certain area and it's not there, if you go and you can't find that, let me know. It's sort of, you know, it's a work in progress, and like a lot of places we've had IT turnover, yada, yada. So just let me know. Hopefully I'm answering your question.
Yeah, so I'm just kind of summarizing that in a chat. So thanks.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, bottom line, if you can't find it, let me know. Surface water wise, I can get that to you.
Yeah. And from drinking water, I think all the drinking water locations on there, public drinking water, does link to our online database with all the results. So you can drill down. Our external drinking water database does have all the PFAS data on it, so you can search by contaminant type, so you can get a list of all, you know, the PFAS results in the state if you want, including all. Well, let's see, we're using 537.1, so I think that's 18 different PFAS that included. So, but same as what Pat said, if there's something you're missing or you want to look at it differently, just you can contact me. We can figure it out.
I should say too, if you happen to have access to our SWIMS database, it's all in SWIMS, and that has basically everything, like lat long, you know, the station ID, time of sampling down to the minute, type of analysis, even like because we all get it all our data from State Lab of Hygiene, so it'll even have the, you know, sample number at the State Lab of Hygiene.
Awesome, thank you. Yin, you have your hand raised?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I just would like to follow up on the database. So I think, yeah, and I understand that, yeah, the state has been done a lot of research on this PFAS on the determination of the PFAS concentration, like, for example, in surface water and groundwater, like. So, yeah, my question is that, so far, are we able to say that we have identified all the sources related to those PFAS contaminations, or we are still like in the process of the source identification for different PFAS sources? And would that be something that we would like to consider as, for example, for further research for source identification of PFAS?
I would say absolutely. We're interested in that. We don't know the source for all the locations where we found PFAS. I mean, certain ones are clear. There's others that there may be multiple sources, and it might also be, we may think that it's biosolids spreading, but there may be multiple permits that were, you know, in a certain area, and so, you know, can we determine, you know, which type of industry that or wastewater source that spread those biosolids? So yeah, there's a lot of questions there. This sort of, in looking at the document that Sea Grant produced, a lot of questions around fingerprinting. I think that's part of what we're getting at there is when we find certain mixture of PFAS, what might be our likely sources there. Also, I think we need to maybe do more soil sampling and then comparing that to what we're finding in groundwater. Maybe I'll stop there and let others weigh in.
Yes, thank you very much, Steve.
Maybe I could chime in too. Yeah, I agree. More work could be done there. I would say we have, in certain areas, we have a pretty good hunch on what it is. I haven't fully done the analysis, but I mean, going back to the question about what, do we have all, the Wisconsin 33, we do have those. I have, for surface water, I haven't, let's say, done like statistical analysis in certain areas that would be a little more rigorous to show that they're different. But there's, that type of data, if you just want to look at the, diversity and the relative proportions of those compounds, I mean, it would just be a matter of statistics. Like I said, I haven't gotten to it. I don't know if you're interested in taking it to the non-targeted analyses that go beyond the, let's say, the Wisconsin 33 and look at some of the other things, like, Christy Remical has a nice paper of looking at, the JCI Tyco area, for lack of a better word, and that going into like the Bay of Green Bay. I know that's not been done in certain areas. I've delved in a little bit into the relative amounts of those 33 compounds, and I can tell you that the relative percentages of those compounds is very different in the Rylander Stark Stella area than it is in, let's say, Starkweather Creek. So, I mean, I'm fairly confident that those are different sources based on the relative amounts of the PFAS. And I can tell you that what's in Starkweather Creek is more similar to what's in Silver Creek by Fort McCoy. So, I mean, my hunch is that that's more AFFF airport type usages, and it's probably similar also to like the JCI Tyco area up in the Northeast. And then also French Island. So there's a couple different types of those areas. Like we haven't rigorously found that or done the work that up, shall we say. Hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah,
but
yes, that's a lot.
Yeah, but like as Steve also mentioned, like getting into biosolids and leaching. I mean, and then keep in mind, there's also biosolids and sludge. So sludge would be the industrial, like let's say paper plant byproduct that's spread, whereas biosolids would be the, what's from a wastewater treatment plant. So those are probably different, and how they leach through the soil has not been studied much. There was a great paper that just came out from UW-Milwaukee, but they just they didn't actually like look at specific parts of the state and so forth. But I think that was Mike, what's his name, Holly? Is it Mike Holly? Am I saying that right? Correct me if I'm wrong. But that was a great paper. So that more work needs to be done by that. I know Martin Schaefer did some earlier work on biosolids as well. That hasn't come out yet, but it definitely, that'd be a great area to look at. Sorry if I'm talking too much. Stop me at any point.
I heard another voice, but I don't know if that was someone starting a comment or just like random Zoom noise.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hey, Patrick, question for you. Since I work with so many different industries, you may have answered my question about PFAS. Example, let's say Wausau, they got a pulp mill, they got a paper mill, a lot of that in, okay? Obviously, you look at northeastern Wisconsin, they do have pulp paper too, but they also have Tyco, which is basically most been tied to Tyco, okay? The islands area along the Mississippi, we can identify that as 3M, correct? So I'm saying when you look at PFAS, has anybody done a good survey and census saying which industry is there what are they creating with PFAS that ties into the products that they produce? So I don't know if anybody here has done any kind, let's say Milwaukee, what's creating PFAS there? Have we been, again, that's a big metropolitan area, so it's more difficult, but have we been able to identify specific companies or companies that are generating the PFAS?
Well, maybe I'll kind of partially answer that. So what we've done so far is we've gotten environmental samples from areas that are publicly accessible. So, surface water, in a stream, those types of areas, we haven't necessarily gone, we can't really go into an industry and directly take the sample from the industry usually. It kind of depends on the permits and so forth. So once the sample, there's questions once, a sample gets into the environment, and becomes mixed, and how long, let's say if it's getting in the soils and so forth, there might be some things happening, transformations and whatnot, certain things getting bound in soils, and like short chains move faster than long chains and so forth. So kind of yes, kind of no. Sorry, it's hard to and then also, I mean, that's an area that I like for my program, we're just interested in monitoring in the surface water. There's another program like R&R and so forth that's more, let's say, litigious, and they want to identify the sources and go after the sources and so forth. They don't do as much like that type of work as far as monitoring. So there's connecting the dots. There's, more can be done. Maybe I should leave it at that. I don't know if I'm answering a question. Sorry.
Marty, I'll also say that, so my student went through and did surveys of industries to talk to them about, what kind of PFAS compounds they're using, and are they aware of them? Are they concerned about them? And trying to look at databases. Now, this was a couple years ago, so I know that things have moved a little bit since then. But by and large, there's a lot of products that we just don't know, that they're not marketed as having necessarily those PFAS compounds. And since they're not something that people eat and they're not a drug, they're not necessarily required to put that in the labeling. And so we don't know what PFAS are in there, what kinds of PFAS they're using, where they got them from. So that the manufacturer, and you could do some of the modeling like what was done up in Green Bay. And so it makes it a very difficult part of the equation to try to identify sources when you don't even know what all the things are that's being used for.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. One thing just to keep in mind is today Wisconsin has 45,000 people employed in the plastic industry, and probably another 34,000, 40,000 in the flexible packaging. The amount of material that we're creating in plastics in the state of Wisconsin is staggering. Our concern from an industry is how do we stop that? How do we change? Can we basically not use PFAS chemicals? Can we use something as a substitute? So what we're trying to do, I say this to universities, is what are some solutions you can bring to the table or try to help industry? Because again, I was working with, I can't remember her name, but I was working with a lady with water to go into some of these places and do tests for them. And they would do it for free so that they can understand what they're creating in PFAS. Because you're right, do they even know what they're creating or what they're using? And so I think there's that combination of working together with industry, coming up with a solution, because I mean, the amount of material that's going out every day in the state of Wisconsin is staggering. It will never be able to recycle it. So something has to be done.
Awesome, thank you. We're running a little short on time. I think all of these questions have touched on 3 of the sections: environmental contamination, exposure pathways, and waste, biosolids, and remediation. Is there any comments or research being done in the toxicology, epidemiology realm, looking at maybe like PFAS mixtures or other issues along those lines? Just take a couple minutes to talk about that, and then I think we'll move on And also, if you think of something after the meeting, feel free to email me. I can put my email in the chat for people.
Maybe I'll jump in. Sorry if I'm talking too much. It's not necessarily toxicology, but I've collected, I have a project, I have some EPA monitoring initiative funding, but I've been sampling Lake Monona. Lake Monona gets the water from Starkweather Creek that comes downstream from the airport. So Lake Monona has fish consumption advisories on it. Upstream, not associated with Starkweather Creek, is Mendota, and Mendota doesn't, in the water especially, you can see it's just basically above detection, but it's very, very low. Anyway, so I've been collecting various parts of the food chain from Lake Mendota. So I have samples of aquatic, so macroinvertebrates, like 5 different species, young of the year fish, aquatic plants, duckweed, and then emergent vegetation, different types of macrophytes, zebra mussels, and so forth. They're all, relatively much higher in Mendota or Monona. You can detect them, whereas they're not in Monona or Mendota. Sorry, I'm flip-flopping terms, but it's all the components of the food web, also algae and zooplankton, are very, much higher in Monona. Anyway, so I don't know a lot of biological studies at lower trophic parts of the trophic web, but I know the USGS is going to be. I just had a meeting with Steve Corsi and some folks at USGS earlier this week, actually. They're going to be collecting sediment samples around the Milwaukee area, and then they're going to be sending them to their lab. I don't know if that's over in La Crosse or if that's the Colorado lab, but anyway, they're actually going to be doing basically wet testing, whole effluent toxicity testing with organisms in that lab on the sediments. I don't know a lot of type of work that's being done like that, but I do think that that would be important work, because we know it's getting into the organisms, but exactly what is it doing to the organisms? Is it affecting them, and how is it being transferred up the food web? We don't really know. But I have some concentrations. I haven't published it, but I do have some initial concentrations.
Thanks, Pat. Any other last minute comments? Otherwise, I'm going to hand it over to Marissa for the next part of our discussion. All right. Feel free to reach out by email if you think of something else.
Wonderful. Thanks, everybody. This was great. Okay, so the next is we would love feedback on what could the Freshwater Collaborative ask for in a federal appropriation request. We've been told that the legislature really, what works the best is the something that they can they can cut a ribbon on, something like that. So could you all please unmute yourself if you have any suggestions? We were thinking about creating a hub, but that's not that's not good enough. And so yeah, so feel free to write in the chat. I'd love to just take a couple minutes and hear from you. Like Sarah, you wrote, there are some groups at UW-Madison doing toxicity studies on PFAS and research animals, but that was to the last question. So what else do you need from me, since nobody's chiming in? What else do you need from me? What are your questions about the appropriation response? Does nobody need any money whatsoever?
Marissa, I'm guessing I'm, struggling with the, desire for, state funds to have something like you said, a ribbon cutting, right? So I am wondering if there's something like a research vessel or, something like that that might help foster like interaction across UW system schools, interacting with different industries and government agencies, right? That could be helpful. And, my bias is thinking about things like, those cool, like traveling research facilities, right? Where you could set up fish exposures, by pumping out water out of an area that we know has contamination. Like I know out at UMass, we've got a couple of those. And I'm just trying to think of something that could be related to, Sarah, private wells as well. And just thinking about like something that could be used by everyone involved in the Freshwater Collaborative. But that could be like shared across. So it's not, like creating a hub puts it in a very specific location, which can make it more challenging for everyone across the state to be able to interact with it. So that's just what I'm like thinking. And I don't know if anyone else has better ideas.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Our group would be interested in doing some funding to have an event, whether it's Milwaukee or Madison, to bring us all together. We would bring industry to it. What we're trying to do is bring the educational institutions together with industry to take a collaborative approach to understand the whole situation. As I mentioned, some companies don't even know they're putting PFAS in the water or they don't even understand what PFAS is. I work heavily with George Huber and his department at Madison. We've discovered that we're creating a good link between them and industry, and I think that's where we're both going. We need both parties, so we'd be interested in promoting an event, supporting an event, bring in a number of you as speakers, and bring in people from industry talking about the issues, particularly the paper and pulp and plastics industry. People like Amcor, and I was just informed, have reduced all PFAS in their products. So what we're seeing is there's a big drive towards industry to say, what can we do? How can we change that? And that's a big story in itself. They're a $16 billion company. So if we can get other people to follow that to reduce PFAS or eliminate it, the chemicals, I mean, that's our ultimate goal. So if you want to put something together, this or that, we'd be glad to support you.
Okay, super. Thank you.
That's great. I think I like what Marty just mentioned. I think it would be important, to facilitate the communication, between the academia and the state agency and industry and other stakeholders, so we know what will be the most important need, regarding PFAS related research and actions here in Wisconsin. So I think we, based on what we have discussed and also the report that you guys shared. So we know there has been a lot of things on PFAS here in Wisconsin, and there are a lot of research needs. But for example, if and I don't believe if we had that, for example, $1 million from federal would help address all of these. So I think the most important thing would be, so can we kind of to start to discuss and to identify what will be the most important part so far, what will be the most important need here in the state of Wisconsin. Then with the federal money, we may start to start to initiate some effort to help to address the most significant things. So I feel like, yes, through this type of discussion and other activities, if we can kind of prioritize, what would be the most important need in the Wisconsin, then we have the money for better use. Yeah, just my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you.
Question for all of you. We've got an event with the Green Bay Innovation Group on March the 20th. Our keynote speaker is one of the premier attorneys on state laws, federal laws on PFAS. We've got Kevin Nelson, Betsy Misker, we have Marissa, she's on here now, but we got a great group that if any of you would like to attend this, okay, send me an email. I'll give you a free pass to the event. But I would need an email so we can do it, because if you sign up, they're going to charge you, or I can reimburse you. But I think a real good premier litigator on what's going on across the country with PFAS litigation.
Super. Thanks.
Thank you. That's really generous.
There's a couple of comments, and Randy, you're just writing to me. Do you mean to write only to me, or I don't know how to say that without putting you on the spot, Randy? Or do you want everyone to know these things? Because they're really good. They're good comments.
My apologies. I thought I had to tell everyone.
Okay, no problem. So then I'll just read them. So Randy says, what about acquiring portable bioassay trailers that could be used across Wisconsin to assess exposures and toxicity? It's a neat idea. I think that mirrors some of the things other people were saying. So that's lovely. And then the other thing, have we or could we synthesize all efforts that have occurred across the state? Yeah, that's a really good idea. And I think that's a good goal for this type of a meeting, right? Okay, with about 3.5 minutes left.
One last thing.
Marty, 1 second. With about 3.5 minutes left, I'd love to just pull this together and say, how often would you like to meet? And when works for everybody? So is this timing, Friday at noon, is this okay? Or is this, heavily offensive for any of you? Would be my one question. And then the other is how often? So we had thought originally meeting quarterly might be enough, but maybe not. So, we don't want to be another meeting on your calendar. We want to be the one you look forward to coming to and really sharing ideas and pushing the needle forward when it comes to statewide PFAS information, research, sharing, that kind of thing. And then with a goal of writing either a white paper or some kind of publication about the model that we're using in Wisconsin that's actually working, something like that as a longer term outcome. So what do you think about meetings? Feel free to say it out loud or to put something in the comments. We have about 2.5 minutes.
Go quarterly. Stay with quarterly.
What does everybody else think?
We could do reactions and maybe plus or like the positive check mark if you think quarterly is good, or a thumbs up.
Quarterly with email updates. Does anybody want, every 2 months instead of every 3 months or something like that? Patrick, go ahead. Oops, you just, yeah.
I did it the other way. Sorry. Yeah, I'm fine with meeting as much as you want. I mean, if you're pulling together a proposal, you might want to meet more often. I don't know. But Friday at noon works for me. However frequently you want to meet. Sounds like people had some questions, or maybe you would just want to offline, ask me.
That's good.
I will mention, because somebody brought up the idea of a communication platform like Slack. So one of the things that we're planning on launching, and we could literally launch it next week, is a private LinkedIn group that would allow people, we could invite pretty much anyone could be part of it, but it would allow everyone to post things within that group and start conversations. And then the Freshwater Collaborative could also use that as a way to communicate out information about what's going on, updates on this federal thing, or ask questions. So that was, we don't have a lot of capacity in terms of platforms. And so LinkedIn really does have a lot of capabilities. So that's why we thought we would go with that. And also we know that a lot of people from industry may potentially be on LinkedIn, and that might allow us to be more collaborative among academics and industry. So just thought I would mention that.
So yeah, please join our LinkedIn group, and yeah, and we can send in the follow-up email, we can send. So AJ or Tisha, do you have any closing? We're running out of time. Sorry about that.
No, I think that's great. Thanks for everyone for coming. I think sending out, and I'll let AJ close us out for sure, but we can send a link to the LinkedIn group. I think that is a great way for people to constantly chat with each other. And we can also like look at Friday afternoons and even do a doodle poll for different times for people, just to make sure that we can capture everyone who's able to attend. AJ, did you have any final thoughts?
No, that was a good summary. Yeah, I'll look for an email from me later today with the links mentioned, and then also just hoping to get some feedback from you guys on like ideas for our fall meeting. So thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to come here. It was great to see everyone. Really heartened by the number of people who showed up. That's really awesome.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.